there a date on that?
Yeah, not yet. Hi, welcome to our August school board meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order and ask for approval of the agenda.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. I'll lead the pledge today, and Mr. Clark will do the invocation. If you can please rise.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our Father in heaven, we're thankful for this opportunity we have to gather as the Shola Unified School District's governing body. We are thankful for the rain and the moisture that we've been able to receive in our lands, and that our aquifers and our lakes and our reservoirs have been replenished. We are grateful for that and for thou hearing and answering our prayers and sending forth the rains that have been so desperately needed. We're thankful that we've been able to start our school year with our students being able to get back into classes and to be able to return to in-person learning. We are thankful for the educational team that we have here in the Shola Unified School District. We're thankful for our administrative team. We're thankful for our principals and for our teachers and for our paraprofessionals and for each one of our staff members who make it possible for our students to be able to learn and to grow and to achieve their hopes and their dreams. We pray that as we discuss the matters before us today, that we will remember the true reason why we are here, and it is to educate children. We pray that we'll be able to have the opportunity to discuss matters that are important before the governing board, and that as we do so, that if we have to disagree, that we'll not be disagreeable with one another, but that we will show kindness and compassion to one another and remember foremost that why we are here and what the whole purpose of this the Shola Unified School District was created for. We are grateful for the conditions that we have to meet in, and we are grateful for the freedoms that we enjoy. We ask that thou please bless and watch over our law enforcement personnel as they go out and put their lives on the line each day. Please protect them and make sure that they return home to their families, and our military personnel who make it so that we can meet in a free and a democratic society. And we ask for these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Item 3.2, approval of the change of approval of the change of September board meeting. I know some of us are gone for the law conference, and it falls on our normal Thursday, right?
Yes, so our normal board meeting would be on the date of the law conference, which many of you will attend. So a suggestion was made of September 16th, the following Thursday.
I'll motion we approve.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 3.3, superintendent reports to include comments on curricular activities and curriculum. Mr. Housley.
To start us off, Madam President, members of the board, I'd like to, as we move through the year this year, I'd like to have a director or a principal report on their side or responsibility as part of my report, and do that briefly. This month, we've asked our transportation maintenance director, Mr. West, to give a brief report. As you know, transportation at the start of the school year and after every break is a fun ordeal, especially with increase in student numbers. So I'd like him to give us a brief report, and then I'll report on a few other things, including enrollment.
Okay, Madam President, members of the board, Mr. Housley. I'm just going to go through a couple different things real quick. I'm going to start with transportation struggles, and then I'm going to go kind of give some negatives, some positives, and some needs, and then give a brief maintenance report. So far this year, we've had the negatives. We have a driver shortage. We had a bus driver resign for different reasons. He lives out in Civic Q, like a week before school started. We have had bus driver positions posted for almost a year. We even have sub drivers at this point. So we had to consolidate 3 routes into 2, which at this point now, a positive is our ridership has doubled since the end of last school year. Which is good for the school district because our student numbers are going up. But a negative for that is our buses are now at capacity. I learned today that a bus driver at the high school dismissed some students at the high school because they didn't have room. That'll be addressed next week when the drivers come back to the office, because that's not an acceptable practice for the Shoalo School District. We don't ask students to leave a bus at a school. We've put plans in place to make sure it doesn't happen. We have a bus shortage this year. We have, unfortunately, 2 of our bus drivers put gasoline into some diesel fuel vehicles. At this time, we have the quote for that. It's going to cost the district approximately $40,000 to repair those engines for both of them, which is still significant. We had another vehicle that had a main engine seal go out, which has caused the engine to malfunction and has to be rebuilt, which is another $32,000. I worked with the state, the school facility board. There's apparently some transportation grants that are available that they're going to look into for us. I have asked the state for assistance in getting that $75,000 to repair those 3 buses. Just this morning, one of our other buses has a diesel exhaust sensor that has gone out. Those are about $900 a piece. They're on a back order of 2 weeks throughout the country. So that puts us down to 5 buses that are out of service. So even if we were to hire bus drivers today, we don't have a bus to put them into. So those are some issues that we have, but some positives. As I said earlier, we have our ridership has doubled in the first 2 weeks of the school year, which is also a negative. That also gives us the district student growth, which we need. And then we are preparing to order 15 new 15-passenger white fleet buses out of the ESSER money. So that will be going through. I don't know how long it's going to take to get those, because we're kind of at a cusp right now. If we don't get those in soon, then we're going to be waiting for up to 10 months to receive delivery of new buses for that. Another negative is our white fleet issues. We have a whole bunch of our white fleet that, we've had them since 1992. One of them had a blown engine this week, what I was informed of. And then we have some other ones just kind of, they're at the end of their life cycle. So we're just kind of pushing them along as best as we can. But then, what our needs are is that we need more drivers and our buses repaired. So we're just waiting for the funding for that. So that's the transportation struggles. I think that's enough negative for the meeting. So I want to go over to facilities and give a report on that. As of this week, our high school HVAC assessment has been completed. It's been almost a year for that assessment. The architect meets with the SFB tomorrow to explain in detail why they put the price numbers in for the new units that are needed. We're looking at getting temporary units. They'll be on semi-trailers to get over to the high school. We have about 10 units that have been requested they can temporarily get the air in there to get the air moving in the school to get those classrooms cooled down. We do have a couple classrooms that get pretty warm during the day, and I understand that that's not where we want our children to be. It's just we have to go through those hurdles with the SFB because we can't provide the funding for that as a district. The high school roof design is in progress. The architect will be here next week to look at that roof, as well as Nicholas Elementary. Just today, or this week, the SFB has approved the auditorium roof design. They also approved linden weatherization design. I spoke with the SFB today. As of tomorrow, we're going to have an emergency BRG granted to provide a brand new box freezer at Whipple Elementary. They'll just remove the old one and we'll put a new one right back in its place. Perkins Cinders is going to be giving our CRS, the restoration company that's been doing the district office fire, they're going to give them a hard date as to when they're going to demolish the district office. It was supposed to happen today, but CRS wasn't on site, so the insurance company put a stop to the demolition because they wanted to make sure that they were, quote unquote, supervised to tear down a building that they can do. But that's just the procedures we have to go through. I was also given a report today. I advised the CRS our disappointment our insurance company with the disappointment we have in CRS at the high school and their response to our flooding that we had. We have 2 restoration companies on site since day one. One of them is Restore Pro out of Snowflake. The second one is CRS out of the Valley. CRS has their foremans on vacation this week, so they pulled their entire crew off of our site to go to another district. I spoke with our trust liaison today to kind of just let her know our disapproval of the district office demolition and the lack of response from CRS to getting the jobs done at the high school. So they put out a schedule that starting next week, they're going to be working 4 10-hour nights starting Thursday. So they're going to work Thursday through Sunday at night. Away from the students, they feel they can get that accomplished better. So we're going to be on them. We're not happy with their response, but Restore Pro, on the other hand, at the high school, they've already removed one half court of the gym. They've responded to all of their assigned areas from the office onto the classrooms by the gym. They're waiting for Cove Base to finish off some of those classrooms against that west wall and that C hallway that are labs. They have the tile floors. So the Cove Base will be here next week, and they're hoping to have those finished. And then they're going to continue with the gym on a daily basis. The gym floor has been ordered, and it should be about 6 weeks for delivery of the new maple that will come in for that. So that's a quick report. So if you have any questions.
Anything? No. Thank you, Mr. West.
Okay, thanks.
Just to wrap up a few other things to report on. Our end of the year 100th day count last year was just over 2,200, approximately 2,258 students. Our first day enrollment, these are students that were enrolled in the system. Now, not all of these students actually showed up. In fact, we had about 171 absences on the first day, but some are on vacation, some are doing other things, some forgot school started. They make their way as they come in. But for the first day, enrollment was 2615 with 2522 in the seat. Second day enrollment went up to 2629. That's people actually enrolled, and we were at exactly 100 absences. We were at 2529 for our Thursday enrollment or in the seats. So that's good. If you think about that, we were at 2258 to 2529. That's a good response going up. So that's really good. The Monday this week, we're at 2632. And we're continuing to follow those trends. I'll delineate the numbers out. I'm really excited. Our registrars at each of the sites, our secretaries there that have been working on that. I was in the junior high today, and she was really excited. She's like, I have an accounting for every student except for 2, which is awesome considering we're not to the 10th day yet. And she knows exactly where all the students are, whether they're going to be here or they're not going to be here. And we've had attendance taken. It's been a long time since we've seen 100% in almost every site as far as attendance being taken, so that we have a really, really good grasp on who's here and who's not here.
Can I ask?
Yeah.
What are the classroom sizes looking like with all of these?
They're tight. They're tight. We have when you have that number of students, it goes up. Kinder is in the mid-20s. If I'll give you one example, I believe it's first grade in Linden. We have two classes, but for the first time that I can remember, it doesn't mean it's never happened, but Linden at the first grade level has 42, 43 students. If we were single, that would have been pretty crazy, right? But then, we have first grade is in the low to mid 20s. So we have some that are up in the upper 20s. I was at the high school and I talked to one of our new teachers, and she said her biggest class was around 28, 29. So, there are some big classes. We know that with growth. I think it's important that we see indications of growth and then we can respond to it. It's hard to put all the resources in place before they come, because then if they don't come here, now we're seeing indications of growth. We can respond to that. The principals have been giving us ideas on how to respond to that. And we're hoping that by the time all the dust settles at day 10, we'll have a very clear picture of where we are and then be able to start moving on resources.
Were we able to replace all of the vacancies we had for teaching positions?
No.
No?
We still have several special ed openings. And so those, and, you know, we did close enrollment to special ed, but a lot of the new special ed caseloads or cases that we're getting are all in district from new moves.
Awesome. Thank you. Item 3.4, call to the audience. Just a reminder, 3 minutes when you come up, and as a board, and Mr. Housley, we can't respond back to you. You can just make comments. So first, Cynthia Whipple.
I'm grateful Mr. West addressed some of these concerns, but on behalf of several teachers at the high school, and myself included, I would like to just address the air conditioning units. Again, I know we have temporary units that are coming, and I would ask that if we could expedite that as quickly as possible. I want you to imagine teaching in an 85 to 95 degree classroom with 30 to 40 kids asking you every 30 seconds, why is it so hot in here? It's exhausting. And myself and the band director have gone home every day this week, and a few other teachers physically exhausted. And so if there's anything that we can do, it was a little cooler today thanks to the rain and the cloud cover, but it is exhausting. And so this is the second year now that the choir room has been without a working unit. There was a few years previous that it wasn't working as well. This is the fourth year that the band room has been without one, as well as the culinary room. So in the future, as we get these new units put in, I would just like to make a request that we continue to maintain them and work to make sure that they're not going down. And when they do go down, that we have money in the contingency to take care of them so that our teachers and our staff are not in these kinds of conditions. And if we could do that, I would be very grateful. Thank you.
Juliana, and I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your last name. You can state your first and last name, please.
My name is Juliana Svizinska. I have moved here within the last 1 year from Alabama. And as perhaps some of you already heard, the bill 1346 passed, which repealed the law, 28-year-old law, which forbid the discussion of LGBTQ in a public classroom. So me, just give you a little backstory on myself. I was a hateful atheist for most of my life. I was part of LGBTQ community, and I know the dangers of it. One of the things that they will not address ever and will not ever include in textbook is the anal rate, anal cancer in men. As a medical malpractice paralegal, the doctor explained this to me. I'm just going to do a very quick biology demonstration. The cells within your body in the large intestine are only designed for things to come out one way, which is down. Any kind of friction causing upwards and downwards will cause the cells to rupture. When they rupture, they mutate. When they mutate, you get anal cancer. This is true for both men and women. We are right now seeing an unprecedented rise in anal cancer among teenagers because this is propaganda, and I'm speaking from personal experience. This is propaganda for the young people. The anal cancer is through the roof. I have articles from WebMD. One more progressive issue for gay men is anal carcinoma, anal cancer. This is from homosexuality and anal cancer. I have articles from The Conversation discussing this topic, saying that if you're gay and if you're a man, that you should 100% do anal screenings every year. I have articles from WebMD. I have articles from LGBTQ Cancer Information. I have articles from all over. And there will be a push to normalize this. And we see this in every single instance. The moment it becomes taught in schools, the rate of people exhibiting this behavior goes up. And the same was true for myself. I have personally witnessed it, and I have personally experienced it. So therefore, knowing many of the people personally in the LGBTQ community. For example, there was an outrage in one of the gay parades when a boy under 10 years of age was basically almost completely naked except wearing little shorts. And he was getting down and doing very provocative movements with his hips. And some of my straight friends that were reviewing this information, they were outraged. And I said, this is normal. In the LGBT community, this is normal for children to behave this way, for men to react. Because there were pictures of some of the men, and you could tell when they were gathered around him, observing that one or two of them were aroused. You can see that through the clothing. And I addressed it with them, and I said, this is normal.
I'm sorry,
So,
that's
yes. So I would like, my address here is that if this comes to the schools, which sooner or later I'm guessing that it will, that I would like a chapter included in that literature, addressing, I can provide all of the articles, all of the MDs, everything that you may ever need. I would like a chapter in that book included, addressing that if you practice this lifestyle, that you can only, the cells, our body is an amazing machine, it heals itself. There's only so many times you can shoot yourself in the leg. Sooner or later, those cells will not heal anymore. They will rupture and mutate. So I would like a chapter included in that book addressing these issues, because they are never addressed, and when I try to address them, especially the LGBT community, they will not wish to do so.
Thank you. You can leave those with us if you
Yes,
want to.
please.
What did you pronounce your last name?
Excuse me?
Your last name.
Sisonska.
Okay. Thank you. Sherry Leatherwood, please. Charisse.
Bree Leatherwood from Shoalo High School. Thanks for hearing me out about this. I wanted to address about stipends. I know that months ago when this all started, we, as a staff, some of us approached administration and stuff and asked how it was going to affect our pay and what was going to happen with stipends. And they shared with us what they were proposing to the board, which was that staff that was there was going to be grandfathered in, and new staff hired would be the flat rate or whatever rate was decided by the board. Then we find out from the last board meeting that our stipends, many of us, had been cut by 25% or more. And I know there's a magic formula that's used based on students, but I do a self-contained classroom. I have a lot of students based on the number of kids that I have in my program, but I'm in there 8 hours a day with those kids. I have no prep. I have no lunchtime. I'm in there every day, all the time with them. And I just think that I would hope that the board would look at that again and maybe see that special education is a different category and not use regular classroom numbers to calculate it. We not only do we have the kids in our classroom, but we have kids that are home-based that we keep track of. We do IEPs, we do BIPs, we do reevaluations. We also have students who are in treatment facilities that we're still responsible for. So you can't base my numbers on, kids that are just enrolled in my program. Because I have, like I said, kids in treatment, kids that are home-based. I have kids that are in gen ed that I take care of. So I would just hope that you guys would look at that again and maybe decide special ed especially is a different category, not using the same formula. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Sherry Kerr.
Good evening, members of the board. I'm Sherry Kerr. I'm a math teacher at the high school, and I'm here to represent the math department tonight. In May, the board was presented with 7 criteria and conditions for stipend consideration. Of those 7, teaching positions in math meet all but 1 because math is not a self-funded program. Before and after school, at lunch and on Fridays, math teachers spend a minimum of 4 extra hours per week outside of the classroom in student learning. Math stipends were originally created as a means of attracting teachers to hard-to-fill positions and giving teachers an opportunity to be compensated for spending that extra time in student learning. At the July 8th board meeting, 2 proposals were presented. You had Proposal A from the high school administration and Proposal B from the district administration. Proposal A reduced stipends for 75% of those receiving them at the high school and asked that stipends for math teachers be grandfathered in at the fiscal year 21 amount for the fiscal year 22, as the district researched more long-term solutions for paying those stipends. Proposal B reduced stipends for 95% of those receiving them at the high school and significantly reduced the math stipends. Of the $34,855.83 savings from proposal A to proposal, or from current to proposal B, I'm sorry, $16,263.63 came strictly just from the math department at the high school, affecting the 5 teachers you see here tonight. 100% of the math teachers are experiencing up to a 10% permanent reduction to their overall compensation. The board tabled this stipend discussion and requested more information regarding competing schools that compete for our employment. This information was presented to the board on July 15th, along with only proposal B. We have the question, what happened to proposal A? Why was this proposal not represented as well? None of the math teachers or others who were surveyed were ever presented either proposal in writing, nor were we asked if we agreed with these changes. We now feel very undervalued and underappreciated, and to some degree deceived, as we were asked to sign our contracts in good faith, given the verbal proposal that math stipends be grandfathered in. And I know that was true for some other teachers outside of the math department as well. We were not informed of the actual changes in stipend amounts prior to receiving our regular teaching contracts, and therefore could not make informed decisions regarding our employment. Prior to approving all stipend contracts tonight, we would like to request that you find the time to visit with those teachers negatively impacted by the stipend changes and reevaluate the current proposed stipend amounts for fiscal year 22. I would also like to request that you repeal the approval of the high school math teacher stipend changes and grandfather these stipends in at the fiscal year 21 for the fiscal amount for the fiscal year 22. On a personal note, I just want to let you know, I came to Sholo last year from another local school district. Okay, great. Never mind. I'll stop there. That's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 3.5, future board agenda items. Anyone?
I do. I would like to look at, revisit the stipends. I felt like we were under the impression that staff was included and was aware of what was going to be presented to us for approval. So I would like to honor the request and revisit that in a future board meeting. Thank you.
Anything else? No. Item 4.1, approval of overnight and out-of-state travel. Mr. Hosley.
Madam President, Mr. Marchand recommends that Derek Whipple and Caitlin O'Connell take 4 students to the League of Cities with the Sholo City Council. This is in Phoenix. It's on the 31st of this month to the 1st of September. Funding is sponsored through the City of Sholo. So I'd like to request that you approve this. Oh, goodness.
I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I move to approve the request as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item 4.2, approval of 2021-22 AIA declaration statement. Mr. Hosley.
Apologize for the alarms going off over here. This is an annual declaration saying that as a participant in the AIA and a member school, in order to participate in those activities that are sponsored by AIA, that we understand and agree to follow the rules and the things that govern the AIA, which would include regulations that they might have on athletic events, regulations like we saw last year around masks and players and things like that. So this is annual. It's something that happens all the time. It's not just, it's new, but it is part of our membership and agreement to follow their guidelines.
I move to approve the 21-22 AIA declaration statement as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Any further discussion? No? Okay, motion passes. Item 5.1, approval of new and revised positions. Mr. Hosley.
Inside the 5.1, you'll see that Esteban Corral was, he was a 4-hour or a part-time custodian at Nicholas Homestead, or a reduced hour custodian. There was a need for one at Whipple Ranch. The solution was he was looking for a full-time position, so now he's going to be shared at both sites, but he's a full-time position. So that would be that one. Also, Alan Ramage is the CTE business teacher. He's also the chair in that area, and to provide the access that he needs to update grants and other things as part of that. We asked that the title be given of Assistant CTE Director, which allows him to have access to the reports that he needs on to help put that on the state website. So those two are under that. And then you'll see the recommendation there from Dr. Taylor for that, for your approval this evening.
I'll entertain a motion.
A motion to approve new and revised positions as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 5.2, approval of resignations, retirements, and terminations.
For your consideration this evening, Jody Gilmore, Kenna Brogan, Daniel John, Kathy Bakke, Jamie Wright, Mark Chavez, that's as a football coach, Tanya Butler and Jerry Butler as driver ed instructors.
I'll entertain a motion for approval of resignations, retirements, and terminations.
Also motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 5.4, approval of substitutes. Mr. Housley.
We need 3.
5.3.
Okay.
5.3.
Oh, sorry. 5.3, approval of new hires, renewals, and transfers.
For your consideration, Matthew Heathco, a relief bus driver, Susan Olson, a junior high paraprofessional, Aaron Tucker, White Mountain Institute lead teacher, Vanessa Valenzuela, the athletic director secretary, Renee Beckman, junior high para 1, Shaylee Paz, junior high para 1, John Sendra, a junior high social studies teacher, and Laura Duncan, junior high para 1. Also returning to work from ESI, Beth Marsh, special services director. Student teaching, Holly Pierce at Linden and Claudia Layton at the high school. And she's going to do 8 weeks at the high school and 8 weeks at Whipple Ranch Elementary. For your approval this evening.
All motion we approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 5.4, approval of substitutes.
We have one for your consideration is Gerald Brimhull, and we bring that for your consideration this evening.
I'll move to approve the substitute as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 5.5, approval of stipends, volunteers, and event workers. Mr. Housley.
Those who are before you at this time are those who would fulfill the obligations for the fall sports as volunteers and also assistant coaches and coaches. We have those in the athletic department as the assistant to the AD, Laura Larish, and also Joel Reed. We have also the CTSO stipends there as CTSO advisors. We have our Tech Buddy approval, stipend approvals, as well as TSI tutors, and then lead teacher stipends. This was one of the things that was made available as we moved through. Instead of having just department leads in one site, now we were able to provide those who lead departments or grade levels at the rest of the schools the same opportunity to have a lead stipend to provide, so grade level lead or similar to what you would see as a department chair. For your approval.
All motion we approve.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item 5.6, approval of contract revisions. Mr. Housley.
It's become necessary to increase Ashley Kay. She's a Whipple Ranch paraprofessional at 35 hours to 40 hours, and that began on the 9th. Ask for your approval this evening.
A motion to approve the contract revision as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item 6.1, first reading and approval of policy advisory 680 through 711. Mr. Housley.
They had a very busy legislative session, and these are reflections of those. This is the first reading. We're going to need plenty of time to read it because there's about 122 pages of changes to policy. Just some that I want to point out to you is some of like the bus driver requirements and training. Those are in there. The requirements around audits are being updated. Some rules of order around the board, those are there. Basic instructional programs, the update to instruction and training and suicide prevention, textbooks and supplementary material, promotion and retention of students is in there. One that was highly discussed and maybe a little bit controversial is policy advisory number 700, which is policy IMB, teaching about controversial and sensitive issues. That puts in some things that prohibits as far as what can be discussed and how it can be discussed in a classroom. And so those are things that we will need to consider through the readings. Admissions of resident students, tuition for non-resident students, open enrollment, that's changed almost to the point where as you read it, you're going to notice that it seems like there's districts without boundaries now. And that's not 100% accurate in the description, but there are some things in relationship to transportation of open enrollment students and how all of that can come about. That's very something that we're going to have to consider very strongly as far as things are concerned. Student discipline and student expulsion. Now, this is something JK and JKD. We, the elementary principals and I spent yesterday in a webinar with our first kind of here's what it says kind of look. And there are some things that make you kind of go, and curl your eyes, and maybe wonder how that's going to be accomplished. But it talks about specifically suspensions, long-term or short-term for students under the age of 7, and what that looks like. Very something that we're really trying to wrap our heads around, but there's a lot of pieces to that puzzle. And we're going to have to figure out what that looks like for us, and as well as expulsions. Visitors to campus, the face covering pieces, you'll see those are deleted. We've already participated in deleting those. So you'll see that those are being recommended by ASBA as deletes anyways, due to the governor's direction. So those are there for our first reading and approval this evening as first read.
I'll entertain a motion for approval of the first reading and approval of policy advisories 680 through 711.
I'll make a motion to approve policies as presented for first reading.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 6.2, discussion of proposed 2022 political agenda and delegate assembly process.
Madam President, from our little draft recommendation, the ASBA has now put this together as their political agenda, and it's in front of you this evening for further discussion, and we can certainly provide any feedback as requested from ASBA. And to ensure that we've recognized we know who our delegates are, and you know who they are too.
You guys have any discussion on the agenda that was adopted? No. Okay, I know
Who is our delegate?
we talked about it in May, but I don't remember.
Did
so
we vote?
no, we need to vote.
I think
So
it was
who-
Kelly.
I think it was me.
Do you want to be okay, I'll nominate Kelly to be the delegate for the September law conference.
I'm gonna get home on Friday. My kids are gonna do it.
Okay, fine. I'll do it
Otherwise, I would
this
do
year. Next year, it's you, girlfriend.
Next year I'll do
Okay.
it because I won't have another trip the week before.
Did you,
Okay.
did
Enjoy
you
the
second
Saturday
it,
morning
Lamista?
meeting.
Sorry, you were both.
Did you
talking at the same
second it?
time? I will second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, then we also need an alternate. Does anyone want to be an alternate, just in case Kelly goes shopping all day and doesn't show up?
It's possible. That is a distinct possibility.
Right.
Want to be an alternate, Lamista?
I want to be home on Friday, not that.
Okay,
Is this
I'll
on
I'll be
Saturday?
there on Friday.
Yeah.
I promise you.
It is
I'll be
Saturday
there.
morning.
Saturday
Oh,
morning.
I'll be there on Saturday. Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna go home on
I was going to
Friday.
say, I'll be shopping with her, so.
Next year.
Mr.
Next year I'll
Okay.
take it over.
Do we want to?
I'll be an
Well,
alternate
maybe-
if something
Okay.
happens, okay?
Okay, Stacy, you'll be the alternate?
Yeah.
I move for
Motion.
Stacy to be the alternate.
We'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Oh, I lost, okay. Item 7.1, approval of fiscal year 2021-22 sole source providers. Mrs. Beecroft.
So for your review and approval, we have a list of our 21-22 sole source providers. These are basically vendors that we utilize, that they singly handle the product or the service that we utilize. So we have the 95% group, Beyond Textbooks, CNM Communications, IXL Learning, Pearson, Renaissance, Swivel, and Vector Solutions for your approval.
I make motion to approve the sole source providers.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item 8.1 through 8.5 consent agenda. Mrs. Beecroft.
For your review and approval, we have the ratification of all expense vouchers for the past month. 8.2, the ratification of all payroll vouchers. 8.3, the approval of the governing board minutes for the July 8th, July 15th, and the July 26th board meetings. 8.4, approval of the PTSO Booster Club financials and parent organizations. And 8.5, the approval of donations. Grant, if you want to.
Sure, I'll read them. Donors choose donated to Miss Murray's class. We need the ABC's Arts Basic Collection Project. Donors choose donated to Miss McMillan's class New Books for Students Project. The Shola Youth Foundation donated $1,000 to Miss Heath's kindergarten class for play equipment. Shola Youth Foundation donated $1,000 to WIN classrooms at Whipple Ranch to provide activities for students with sensory and behavioral needs. And the Shola Youth Foundation donated $500 to Miss Trucks to pay for registration for a Marathon Kids Running Club. I'd like to thank the donations. That's really phenomenal that they are willing to donate that to our school district.
Did they have their banquet this year?
Who's that?
The Shola Youth Foundation?
It's this weekend.
This weekend?
Yep, Saturday. I was at the junior high today and Miss McMillan came in. You noticed she's kind of a little bit of the donors choose guru. She said it was raining donations today. So that was pretty cool. So there'll be more on there. I think when I talked to her at 11 o'clock, she said three today were approved and they had more that were well on their way. So, or fully funded, not approved, but fully funded. So that's exciting.
Is there somewhere people do they just go and put in donors choose and click on Mrs. McMillan's class?
I believe that's
You don't know?
I'm not really sure.
I will say this, Madam President, that the Shola Youth Foundation banquet, we are full this year. And normally we have around 160 youth sponsor couples. So there's almost 320. This year we have almost 195. So we have almost 400 people who are going to be attending it this year. So it's really a testament to our community that they're willing to kind of step up and be able to donate. And so we're looking forward to the event. It's going to be a great opportunity for the community to come together. So
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Also motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.